This is Mr. Martin. These are video notes for section 10.2. We're in the volume unit now, and we're going to be talking about volume of prisms and cylinders. So at any point, if you need to go ahead and pause the video to get caught up, or if you want to rewind or rewatch, that's perfectly okay. So when we're talking about volume, we're talking about the amount of space an object occupies. Okay, so this would be a good time to pause and go ahead and write down that definition if you need to. So this is different than when we were talking about surface area. When we were talking about surface area, really what we wanted to think about was if we were going to paint, say spray paint an object, how much surface would we be painting? Okay, and we didn't worry about anything on the inside because the inside wouldn't get any paint. We only had to worry about the outside spaces. But for volume, we're only talking about the inside space. So if I'm filling something up with water, how much water would I be using? Okay, so like these two prisms here, how much water would fill these up if I wanted to fill them with water? Okay, so let's go down here to the volume of a prism. So if B is the area of the base, this is really important. B is the area of the base. Okay, so this is going to change based on the shape of the prism. If it's a rectangle like it is in this case, then the base is just going to be, the area of the base is just going to be length times width. If it's a regular polygon base, then the area of the base would be ANS over 2. If it's a triangular base, it might be base times height divided by 2. So you really have to be careful and know what the area of your base is. All right, then we're going to use a capital H for the height of the solid. So the volume of a prism then is going to be area of the base times the height. Okay, and then always ask yourself, what shape is the base? Okay, that's the important question, so you know what formula to use to calculate it. Alright, so let's skip past this page here and move on to the volume of a cylinder. So my cylinder here, we've got a circle on the top, and we also have a circle on the bottom. And then if we find the center of these circles, any segment from the center to the circle would give us the radius. So there's a radius on the top circle. Here's a radius on the bottom circle. So again, we have B as the area of the base of a right prism or cylinder, and H is the height of the solid. Then the formula becomes volume of a cylinder is going to become area of the base times the height, where B is equal to pi r squared. Okay, because this base is a circle. Base is a circle, and we know the area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay, so just keep reminding yourself that that capital B stands for area of the base. Alright, so let's move on to these examples. Example 1a, we want to calculate the volume. So the first thing you need to figure out is what shape is the base. And here we have base is a trapezoid. Remember, the bases of a prism have to be parallel and congruent. So these two trapezoids are the only two congruent sides of this prism that are congruent and parallel. So then we've got the area of a trapezoid is going to be B1 plus B2 times lowercase h divided by 2. Alright, so then the volume of our prism is area of the base times the height, and the base again we said is a trapezoid, so that's going to be B1 plus B2 times lowercase h divided by 2 times capital H. So let's start plugging in some numbers here. Base 1, we'll just call it 3. Base 2, we'll call 8. And then the height of this, that's this red dotted line right there. So that's going to be 4.3 divided by 2. And then the whole height of this is going to be 10. And if you want to pause the video and go ahead and calculate that, make sure you get the same value as me. You should get 236.5 centimeters cubed. Notice again the cubed here because we're multiplying 3 different dimensions here. All right, moving on to part B. Here we've got a cylinder, and again notice that it's kind of turned on its side, so the bases are on the left and the right side instead of the top and the volume, or top and the bottom. So the volume of this cylinder is going to be area of the base times the height. So the base is a circle, so that's pi r squared, and we'll have to figure out what the height is. So that's pi times, this whole diameter is 10, so the radius will be half of that, and then the height of the cylinder is 4. Alright, and then if we go ahead and calculate that, if we do it in terms of pi, which sometimes I'll ask you to do, it turns out to be 100 pi centimeters squared. So make sure you just follow the directions to determine if I want it in terms of pi or if I want a decimal answer like we did in A. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and give part C and part D a try, and when you restart the video you'll have some solutions there so you can check your answers and go through that work, and make sure you check in with me or one of the other teachers if you have questions. So pause now and work out C and D. Alright, here are the solutions to part C and part D. So notice in part C, it didn't photocopy well, but there should be right angles in those little triangles because otherwise you can't find the base and the height. So our base is a triangle, so that's our base times height divided by 2, so that's 24 times 7 divided by 2 times 7 for the height. That's the height of the prism. So there's 672 millimeters. And then for this one, you notice they give us the area of that base, so we don't really have to calculate anything. So then again, it would be area of the base times the height, so that's 22.7 times 5.3, or 120.31 meters cubed. Oh, this should be cubed over here, so make sure you have that cubed. Alright, so that takes care of those two examples. Why don't you go ahead and try the next 4 examples, and when you restart the video, so pause the video and then restart it, and when you restart it you can go through and check your answers for those as well. So pause now and give these a shot. Alright, so here's the solutions for E and F. Now notice even though this cylinder is tipped over, the height is still going to be the distance from the top to the bottom. We talked about this a little bit with surface area. If you're standing up here, the height is the distance that the rope would be if you were going to climb down. So we have a rope that goes from where you're standing to the ground. Remember, it has to be perpendicular to the ground, and that would be the height. So that's going to be 5. So we've got area of the base times the height, and the base is a circle, so that's pi r squared. Plug everything in and you should get 20 pi inches cubed. So again, if you didn't get that answer, check in with somebody. Now over here with F, this is a little more complicated because we have this large green prism and we cut this hole out in the middle. So we're going to take the volume of the prism, which is area of the base times the height. The base is a parallelogram, which is length times width, and then times the height of the prism. So that should turn out to be 18,750 centimeters cubed. And then the cylinder, again, is area of the base times the height, but this time the base is a circle, so that's pi r squared. So that should turn out to be 1,507.96. And then we're going to subtract these two to get the volume of this solid, because we're cutting the cylinder out of the prism. So you just subtract those two numbers and hopefully you get 17,242.04 centimeters cubed. Again, feel free to pause if the video is going too fast or you need to rewind. Do that. And then over here for these, we know what the area is for part G and H, so we need to solve for one of the other dimensions. So The base here is a regular polygon. That's why for my base I have ANS over 2. So that ANS over 2 turns out to be 84. So 84x for the height, that's what they tell us the height is 925, and then divide both sides by 84 to get about 11.01 inches. Notice this is a height, so that's just in inches. And then over here, again, we know that the volume is 112 pi, and that's area of the base times the height. The base again is a circle, so that's pi times x squared, because we don't know what the radius is, times the height, which is 7. Divide both sides by 7 and pi, so those cancel over here. The pi's will cancel over here. 112 divided by 7 is 16. Take the square root, and you should get 4 miles. I know I went through these quickly, but you can rewind and pause them as you need to. And as always, get help from me or one of the other teachers, and we'll see you in the next video.